my butt. Suck my butt.
How would you children like to suck on my chocolate salty balls?
Oh, you mean like a chocolate candy?
No, I mean my balls.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition
Suck my balls.
S
Suck my balls.
M
Suck my balls.
B
Suck my
a
balls.
South Park review. And we're back for a banger, as this is season 13, episode number 10, W.T.F. And I'm excited to be back here with you once more. Of course, I'm your host in the heat, and I can't be beat. I'm your guy who's kind of high, where the air is so very dry. Yeah, boy. MSG. You can follow us as a podcast by going to Linktr.ee/SouthParkPod. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button if you're watching or listening right here on YouTube. Once again, I'm back at it again solo, but that's quite all right. As I mentioned, this is a cult classic as well. This is actually one of my favorite episodes. This is like in the top 10 of South Park episodes for me, probably because of my pro wrestling fandom growing up as a child. And I'm sure there's a bit of the audience here who's been a crossover from Hami Media Group over the years, who's a wrestling fan as well. So if you are, welcome to the show. If you've never listened to the show, I appreciate you stopping by. This is W.T.F. It's the 10th episode of season 13 and the 191st overall episode of South Park, as it first aired on October the 21st, 2009. This is SMB number 194. Kind of already alluded to there. After attending the first WWE match, all the boys now want to be professional wrestlers. So here's how the show starts. After attending a World Wrestling Entertainment Raw event, the boys, Tolkien, Butters, Jimmy, believe to have found their true calling in life. And they decide that they're going to sign up for wrestling class. But they're going to soon find out that wrestling that's taught in schools is quite different from professional wrestling. Amateur wrestling, that being the sport of it, is not the same as professional wrestling entertainment. And the boys are going to learn that here. So let's jump into our first clip as our boys attending WWE's Monday Night Raw.
Say that again, Edge. You think you're better than me? Cena, your mouth has gotten you into trouble for the last time.
Edge and John Cena here now in the ring.
For you. Mess him up, Edge. Kick his ass, woo! Oh, yeah? I've got something else to tell you, Edge.
So, of course, what they're doing here is mocking the professional wrestling as far as the storylines aspect goes. And then, of course, now, after a reveal, they start fighting. Edge fight after the chicks turn on him. I like the animation. It's good. And then here's after the show. Now they're like, dude, that was amazing. This should be our life.
Was so badass. Wrestling is awesome. This is it, you guys.
This is it.
We know what our calling in life is now. Tomorrow we are signing up for wrestling class. Yeah!
All right, so that's where we'll stop and we'll talk a little bit about what happened now, what happens now. So the boys attend this professional, quote-unquote, amateur wrestling class with their teacher, Mr.Conners, and he tries to teach them that, wrestling is a pure art form. It's a pure sport. So he puts them in, or he tries to put them in the starting position. Now, the boys are not happy with this position, as you'll see on the podcast video version if you're watching YouTube. But if you're not, from a listening standpoint, essentially it's one male, the starting position, he gets into a crouch position right on his knees and hands, and then the other male will then ring his arms around kind of his waist abdomen area as they're on their knees. And that's usually the starting position sometimes for wrestling. I don't know if it's all the time in amateur wrestling, but I do know that in certain instances, when an ongoing match is happening, that is a position in which they start. Now, the boys feel like this position is homosexual. In their words, they feel like this is gay. Butters is even upset and tells Mr. Conners he should be ashamed of himself. And they walk out of the class assuming that the teacher is, I don't know if I could say this, but a child predator, right? And this, of course, angers Mr. Conners. He realizes that the class was only there because they saw WWE, and that basically pisses him off because he's trying to be a real amateur wrestler and trying to teach the actual sport of amateur wrestling, which can lead to, college scholarships and a fruitful networking career, if you will, or it could lead to professional wrestling. There's been tons of WWE wrestlers who start off as amateur wrestlers and eventually became professional wrestlers. So let's jump into that clip now of what happens when the boys attend professional wrestling class, or amateur wrestling class, I should say.
The Rad Russian.
What?
You capitalist swine. I guess in wrestling we're supposed to make our own outfit and then wear it over this. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Alright, so did everyone settle on their wrestling names? I did. I'm the Rad Russian. I come from Russia to crush your puny capitalist head.
So, of course,
All right,
the boys here.
I'm really glad to see we...
Boys think here it's fake. Well, here's what happens when now the boys realize what wrestling is.
Triceratops!
All right. Come on over here. I'm going to position you in the official wrestling
The
starting
official
position.
wrestling starting position.
Here we go.
The fuck is this?
Now just reach around him here.
Reach around him.
Good.
Dude! The fuck are you doing?
Get back on the floor. I'm teaching the starting position of wrestling.
That's not wrestling, dude. That's fucking gay. Yeah, what are you, a child molester? Where's all the cool costumes and jumping off ropes and stuff?
Oh, not this again.
Well, this is fucking lame, dude. Get the hell out of here, guys. Yeah, this guy probably wants to take pictures of us naked. I got half a mind to report you to the police, sir.
Butter's face as he walks on. Oh, that's genius there. Yeah, so as you heard and saw there, the boys were not thrilled with what amateur wrestling is. So this is what then kind of ignites their creativity, right? The boys then go decide that they're going to make their own professional wrestling federation. It's going to be called Wrestling Takedown Federation, aka W.T.F, also the title of the episode. They're now, of course, as they start doing this, they just start doing it in the backyard. They build a ring just to kind of get those creative juices out, right? But then all of a sudden, the performances start catching the attention of the several rednecks in town, and they start gossiping to each other about the wrestling action, kind of the same way one would gossip about a television show, only they actually believe that this is real, despite the fact that the boys know the performers are underage prepubescent children. They believe that they have engaged in adult situations such as serving in Vietnam, other wild tales as far as women having abortions. So the rednecks believe all this, even though these are all children. So we'll show a little bit of that here is what happens when the boys start to build their own professional wrestling league. Their own professional wrestling federation, I should say.
Boy, wrestling sure is fun. All right, you ready to try this, guys? Yep. All right, let's start wrestling. I am gonna kick your ass. You slept with my girlfriend, Hammerclaw? Hey, no, the fight hasn't started yet. No, bam. Hey, you slept with my girlfriend, referee. In my country, we don't wait for a bell,
The boys now acting it out.
Your girlfriend is a whore. Wait for it. Wait for the whore line. Oh, right, sorry. You're gonna get it now, Hammerclaw. We'll see about that. Now, hold on. I am stopping the fight.
Headbutts Butters. Now these rednecks here.
What's going on?
What's going on?
Apparently that crippled kid slept with that Russian kid's girlfriend.
Okay, let's skip ahead now. Here's more people now. They're going to be talking about it.
Little kid from the Congo who was raised by panthers. Are you serious?
Just admit it, Congo. Admit that you lied about me to Irene. I admit nothing.
Skipping ahead again once more. Here's them now getting a bigger crowd. And this is Kenny's character. El Pollo Loco.
What are you doing here, El Pollo Loco?
I'm here to kick your fucking ass. So that's just some of the tidbits there now. As nightfall approaches.
Your girlfriend doesn't even like you, Stan the Man.
Stan the
She
Man?
loves me. You have no idea.
Dude, I'd
what you're
love
saying,
Funko
Juggernaut.
Pops of these
Irene
guys.
loves me, and I'm gonna marry her. If she wants to be with you, how about you have her tell all these people here?
Uh-oh, here she comes now. It's Bad Irene.
Bad Irene, played by Cartman. So Cartman gets in the ring, Bad Irene, and tells them that he's had Stan the Man. He's had a bunch of abortions. Here we go.
Do you know what it's like to have an abortion at 7 years old? Do you? I've had so many abortions. I just got addicted to them.
Whoa, did you hear that?
Irene, you said you love me. I'm not in love with you. I'm in love with abortions. Don't you understand?
This is ridiculous. Just all the crowd that just started showing up out of nowhere to watch this, thinking this is real. Oh man, the city of South Park can be so entertaining. So after they've now made this parody, WF popularity heightens. And then as you saw, their Bad Irene debuted and says that she's addicted to abortions. The boys' backyard wrestling promotion now has an auditorium, as we're going to find out here, complete with proscenium, staging, and theater-style lighting, along with wrestling, in which the word wrestlers recite dramatic monologues as they start the show. The wrestling teacher is enraged after hearing the rednecks tout W.T.F. at the bar as the best wrestling they've ever seen. He tries to show them footage of real wrestling on his iPhone, and they're like, "Mister, you need to take your gay porn and get the fuck out of here. Some bitch." So let's jump into that scene of the rednecks not being impressed with real amateur wrestling.
You gotta check it out.
You can watch them almost every afternoon. It's some of the greatest wrestling we ever seen. It isn't real! Don't you people understand that stuff isn't real? None of it! How stupid are you?
What do you mean it ain't real?
It's all made up, fiction! Real wrestling is a serious and respectable sport. Why can't you people understand that that kind of wrestling isn't real? Mister, there's a little girl out there who's had 14 abortions and she ain't even 10 yet. But I guess that's just not real enough. You. Son of a bitch. Look! This is wrestling! This!
He shows him a video of actual wrestling.
Mister, you better take your gay porn and walk right out of this bar.
You better take your gay porn, mister, and walk right out of that bar right now, son. I'm not going to do this with you today. You need to go, says the redneck there. Liberal douche redneck. Hippie redneck, I'm sorry. Anyway, so as you saw there, everyone's excited except for that gym teacher in regards to wrestling. So now, later on, Mr.Conners is going to find out that he's been fired by the school board simply because wrestling, influenced by seeing WTF, is inappropriate for children, and because of quote-unquote possession of gay porn, the freestyle wrestling videos. Now, he, of course, gets upset, and he's like, dude, this isn't gay porn. This is actual wrestling. And they're like, nevertheless, they fire him. So not only do the kids get on him, the people at the bar get on him, now they took his job. So we'll go to that here as they take this man's job away for trying to teach professional, actual wrestling.
You're firing me? Why?
The school board has decided to discontinue the wrestling program. Wrestling simply involves too much adult subject matter, like murder and abortion.
No, this isn't wrestling! This isn't wrestling! Principal Victoria, just let me stay on and I can teach kids what real wrestling is!
I'm sorry, the board has made up their minds.
You can't fire me for what these kids do!
That isn't the only reason you're being let go.
What do you mean?
We found all the gay porn on your iPhone, Mr. Conners.
We found all the gay porn on your iPhone, Mr. Conners, not realizing it's actual wrestling. No dudes are naked. They're wrestling. That's considered gay porn to the South Park Board of School in 2009. So moving on there, as you might have seen a little blip there as I turned off the clip there. The boys now are going to get an invitation, or basically a summons, a notification that Vince McMahon, yeah, pal, from WWE, I'm coming to check out your promotion. Yeah. So he's coming out, and he's coming out for their big show, the Saturday show. It's called SmackDown, which WWE Chairman Vince McMahon wants to come watch and scout talent for WWE. Cartman, though, meets with Stan, Kyle, and Kenny at a Sizzler, saying that he wants to give smaller roles, kind of a D-push as the term is used, to Tolkien, Jimmy, and Butters, because Cartman feels they will ruin the SmackDown show. So throughout this conversation, the boys then use the term wrestling, but seem to be talking about stage acting here, if you will. And then they're come to the conclusion that they need to hold tryouts to find some more wrestlers. So let's go to the Sizzler here, where the boys are talking about their dilemma about some of their wrestlers on their roster in which they feel are not up to their standards in their quality of craft.
Thanks for coming, guys. I'm sure you're wondering why I've called you here to Sizzler.
Yeah, what's this about? We should be writing our monologues for SmackDown.
Well, guys, Kenny and I have been talking.
Yeah, really talking.
And, I mean, SmackDown might be our one shot at making it into the WWE, right? I mean, a shot like this might never come again.
Yeah?
Well, the way we see it, we have three primary obstacles in making SmackDown a great show. Token, Butters, Jimmy.
What are you talking about?
Guys, let's face it, they can't wrestle for crap. I mean, every time I wrestle with one of them, they flub a line or blow their monologue. And Token, he has no emotion, no timing. He's the worst wrestler I've ever seen. He's right.
He's right.
What? Dude, it's really hard to do your best wrestling when you're up against Token, right? And Butters and Jimmy, I mean, they're okay, but they're never gonna make it as professional wrestlers.
Speaking of those wrestlers, let's show a little bit of what happens in the locker room, according to South Park, and I would have to wager it might be pretty accurate.
Oh, sure, that works. You guys listen to this. It's amazing.
What, dude?
They're all in
We
their
just received a
makeup
letter
and outfits.
from the WWE. From the professional wrestlers we saw in Denver?
No way!
Gentlemen, we have heard of your wrestling organization and are quite interested in its popularity. The WWE is delighted to inform you that it will be sending a talent scout, President Vince McMahon, to view your wrestling event this Saturday,
Here comes
the
their
24th.
reaction.
Vince McMahon is coming to see us.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh
This
my
is our
god.
shot at making it into the WWE. To be real
They're like
wrestlers.
kids.
Oh my god, 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 oh my god.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Oh, okay. So now, as I mentioned, they decide, hey, we need to hold some tryouts for some more wrestlers. So let's show a couple scenes there. Oh, this might be copyright
Number
song.
17, step forward, please. You're wrestling a Muslim immigrant. You suspect he could be a terrorist, and your parents died in the 9/11 attack.
Yeah.
Go.
You dirty Muslim bastard! I don't trust you, and I never will!
Here's them continuing on.
To know you all a little better, what can you tell us about yourself?
Not a whole lot to tell, really. Was born in Fort Collins. Started watching wrestling when I was 4 years old. My father, he liked it too. Until he died.
This guy breaks out into a
Sometimes
song.
I think it's because of him I follow this dream. All my life, all I ever wanted was to be a wrestler. Fighting in the ring, winning that belt. And so I dreamed every night that I was the
Undertaker.
smashing skulls and breaking arms. But I'm so
Damn, dude, that is some
down.
badass
Is there
wrestling.
something I can
Yeah,
do
this guy
to
crushes.
have what
That's some badass wrestling. This guy crushes for sure. So yes, the boys there are impressed with that guy. He will get hired on. So now Mr. Conners back in his house. He's filled it to the brim with Olympic wrestling trophies, awards, and medals. He reads that Vince McMahon is going to be at the event. So he decides that he's going to sneak into SmackDown armed with a rocket launcher, and he's going to try and assassinate Mr. McMahon. While this is going on, of course, the W.T.F. Federation continues to have success. There's even situations where they have like an intermission, right, for like wine breaks and stuff like that. So let's show a little bit of that. There's the intermission now.
Looks like the intermission is over. Better head back.
So now here's the stadium and scene, as I mentioned earlier.
I left my wife today. Walked out of the apartment without saying a word. I ran away from my responsibilities, just like I always do.
Just like I always do. Stop running, Juggernaut.
And I,
There's a sign.
again, am alone.
Oh, here comes his friends.
Here he is, hiding in the forest, as I told you.
Juggernaut, there's to be an ultimate smackdown this Saturday. Are you going to run from that as well? I'll fight anytime, anywhere.
He don't run from fights, just from responsibilities.
So he gets hit, and now out comes El Pollo Loco.
What do I do? Juggernaut is my long-lost brother, and yet Congo saved my life in Nam.
It's El Pollo Loco!
Viva El Pollo Loco. Viva El Pollo Loco, it says there. All right, so that's some of the wrestling scenes you saw there. Now, let's go ahead and as I mentioned, Mr. Conners is going to plot to assassinate Mr. McMahon at this WTF event. So let's go to the Ultimate Smackdown on that Saturday night and see what happens when the boys start to put on their show.
Welcome to this performance of Wrestling Takedown Federation. SmackDown.
Smackdown. Vince McMahon there now, sitting down. He's got like a playbill.
Juggernaut? Juggernaut, hey, what's going on?
You know what's going on. It's SmackDown tonight, which means we might have to fight each other.
Hey, whoa, you shouldn't be fighting anybody. What about your cancer?
What about your cancer? So as you can hear and see there, if you're watching it on YouTube, the show has started. Now we're going to see here as Mr. Conners, he starts to sneak in here through the back. I'm turning down the sound here because I don't need to see that while the show's going on. But he's sneaking down here through the back. He's got a briefcase, which we have to assume has the rocket launcher in it. He then is deciding that he's going to take down these guys because, hey, these people aren't real wrestling. Back now in the ring now, we see, of course, Cartman's character who has all the abortions.
Right here, right now.
Apparently she can have an abortion right here, right now.
There's someone here to wrestle you, Irene. A baby you aborted many
Bad
years ago
Irene.
survived. And he's here now.
Mother! Why did you abort me? Why?
He's alive!
He's alive.
You! Get back in the trash can where you belong! Irene,
What do you think?
There's no way.
They are
Wrestlers
decent
here are gonna
wrestlers.
let you do something
We'll see how they
you
develop
won't
their
like.
through lines in the second act.
Uh-huh.
As Mr. McMahon puts up his spectacles so he can see a bit closer, as if he was at the opera. Now we move forward here. Mr. Conners is unsuccessful in killing Mr. McMahon. What he does here, though, is he ends up shooting and taking out El Pollo Loco, and it turns into like some fireworks, and everyone's excited thinking it's a part of the show. So Kenny, who we have not seen die in a number of seasons now almost, it feels like, is finally going to die again.
Now, for wrestling!
And it lands there. Now Kenny goes and touches it. And then it explodes.
Oh, Dios mío! Mataron a pollo loco! Bastardos!
Oh my god, they killed El Pollo Loco! You bastards! So that was apparently very impressive to them, and that even makes Mr. McMahon stand up and clap there. So this is how the episode now comes to a conclusion. As Mr. McMahon is impressed, Mr. Conners then comes down and he says that this is not professional wrestling. And then he gets in the ring and he gives a soliloquy, a monologue, if you will, about how they took his job. They took his dog and broke his jaw. And when the rednecks say the last two, they sound like they're saying, took his job in slang. And then there's like even a cock-a-doodle-doo sound, right? And then it's at this point, everybody gives him a round of applause. So after Mr. Conners breaks down and gives his own emotional, heartfelt speech, people believe it. And when people can relate and believe to it, they latch on. And that's what happens here to Mr. Conners.
Shut up! You idiots want wrestling? This is wrestling! We want some real wrestlers! This is just a bunch of garbage! And you're all ruining the good name of wrestling! Wrestling is from ancient Greece! It's in the Olympics! What the hell do you care? Get off the wrestling mat! Boo! Why do I care? These kids made it so real wrestling is gone from schools! It's practically gone from the culture! Damn it, they took my job!
I took his job? Whoa.
They took his job. I know.
Shh.
You want to know pain? Pain is dedicating your entire life to a sport, to a career, and then having it all ripped away from you like a babe from its mother. Oh man,
they took his job?
I took his job. Lost everything. Couldn't even afford to pay for my little retriever Rex anymore.
Took his dog?
Animal control came and got him.
They took his dog.
They broke it there. Took it there. I ended up on the streets, stealing. Got busted by the police and had to spend a night in jail. The other inmates there beat me up, fractured my jaw to where I couldn't eat.
They broke his jaw.
They broke his jaw.
So following that now here, we get to the conclusion of the episode where after he delivers that heartfelt monologue, Vince McMahon comes out and says, I want to sign you. I need to get you into rehearsal. Let's get on my jet and leave. The boys are pissed. Like, what about us? Are you going to sign us? And they're like, your wrestling is good, but it lacks the raw talent that this man has. And then the episode ends with the boys pissed, blaming each other, and they actually start fighting now in the ring with the rest of the audience deeming it fake, and they angrily leave. So we'll jump in here to that final scene.
Sir, that was one of the finest wrestling performances I have ever seen. What? Will you not join our wrestling organization? I promise to make you our leading act. You mean it? Come, I want to get you in rehearsals right away.
What? Dude? Hey, what about us? Our show?
Sorry, boys. You are decent wrestlers, but lack the raw wrestling talent this man has.
So now, as I mentioned,
It's
the
all
boys
your fault, Kyle.
start
You
yelling,
have the second act. Me?
wrestling,
It was
fighting,
your
actual
stupid-ass
fighting
writing.
each other here.
Face it. Stan's crappy singing is what sunk us.
Stan's crappy singing. Jimmy with fucking serving up heat here.
You have no idea what you're talking about.
And the audience.
The hell's this?
You have no idea what you're talking about, and it was your
This has
crappy
gotta be
ass,
fake.
buddy. You know it.
Screw this. This is just stupid.
Oh, don't start with me, Kenny.
Fake!
Kenny,
So that is how the episode ends. Ladies and gentlemen, that's your full recap here on this side. We'll be right back on the other side with some more trivia pop culture and maybe some references to storyline continuity. Who knows? Come on back on the other side. We'll be right back. Subscribe to Suck My Balls, a South Park review on Spotify, Apple's, iTunes, anywhere you want to download a podcast. Just type that in, subscribe to our feed, and you'll get the latest, greatest episode each and every week. You can also listen to us on YouTube and go back and watch some videos or any of our library. It's all there. Suck My Balls, South Park review. Welcome back now, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, check out Linktr.ee/SouthParkPod. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a 5-star review and share it on all your social media outlets, whatever podcast catcher you choose to use. Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Podbean, and more. Not Podbean. Spreaker. If you want to download the Spreaker app, though, you can listen to us directly in the Spreaker app. It certainly does help us with the algorithm and advertising revenue. So if you got Spreaker, please hit that like and subscribe button. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not your trivia god. I am not the 2022 Red Rocks Day 1 South Park Trivia Champion. I am not a trivia god, but here we go. Trivia. The wrestling personalities that the kids have in the W.T.F are similar to some of the WWE wrestlers that at the time. You got Stan, the man, who played kind of at a parody of maybe Randy Orton, Shawn Michaels, and Stone Cold. You got Kyle, who was Juggernaut, kind of made him look like CM Punk. Cartman, who played the Rad Russian, who was more similar to Vladimir Kozlov, Big Show, or an Undertaker. And of course, he also played Bad Irene, which was, I think, supposed to be a parody of Eat Alita. I'm sorry. You got Kenny, who's playing El Pollo Loco, clearly Rey Mysterio. You got Butters, who's playing Triceratops, kind of maybe playing a little bit of Rhino. Chris Jericho and The Miz in there. You got Tolkien, clearly looking like R-Truth Congo. And Jimmy, who's playing as the Hammer Claw. Throughout this episode, freestyle wrestling is mistaken as gay porn. Cartman's wrestling persona supposedly can't fight due to possibly having hepatitis, as the fictional character is waiting for his test results to come back. However, this may be a throwback to his very real bout with HIV, which he contracted many seasons back while undergoing surgery, though he was supposedly cured in tonsil trouble, of course, through the magic of $50,000 injected right into the bloodstream. This is one of the few times Kenny is shown without his park on, but his head is, of course, covered by a mask. Professional wrestling is presented as a high theater, with the boys behaving like stereotypical thespians, stage lighting, and wine being served at intermission. Vince McMahon even uses opera glasses. Despite being Canadian, the wrestler Edge doesn't have a Pac-Man-style head in this episode, which is something to note. One of Cartman's assistants from Miss Teacher Bangs a Boy is shown in the WWE audience in the beginning. The show that the kids created is called SmackDown. This is, of course, also a real WWE program. Cartman's other SmackDown persona, Bad Irene, is supposedly addicted to abortions. Cartman himself once tried to get an abortion when he erroneously believed it would remove then Kenny, who had his spirit trapped inside him after Cartman drank him in a ladder to heaven. WWE wrestlers John Cena and Edge are shown at the beginning of the episode. The lead biker that appears in the later episode, The F Word, appears in the audience and sympathizes with Mr. Conners about losing his job. After Kenny, El Pollo Loco, dies, a man in the crowd stands up and screams, "Oh Dios mío, metron El Pollo Loco," immediately after another man in the crowd stands up as well and screams, "Bastardos." This is Spanish for, "Oh my God, they killed Kenny. They killed the crazy chicken, I'm sorry, you bastard." Butters telling Mr. Conners, "I got half a mind to report you to the police," is a reference to the infamous promo of Sid Vicious, where he mistakenly says he has half the brain that you do to Kevin Nash. I almost had half the brain there reading it. And finally, when Stan suggests that Mr. Conners probably wants to take pictures of them naked, that's a callback to Cripple Fight with the Boy Scout leader, man, taking naked pictures of them. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your trivia. Here's some references to pop culture. The Colorado Balloon Boy hoax is briefly mentioned twice as headlines for the South Park Gazette. Boy in the Lost Balloon and Boy, Balloon Son's a Hoax. At the WWE event, Cartman is seen wearing a Get the F Out t-shirt, which is a real garment that was sold in 2002 by the World Wrestling Federation as they changed their name from WWF to WWE. Also in that same scene, Tolkien Black wears a CM Punk t-shirt Stan wears a 2007 John Cena t-shirt, and Kenny is wearing a Lita t-shirt. Last 4 things here. As a luchador, the mask Kenny wears has the same design as the signature mask of the Blue Demon, widely considered to be one of the greatest Mexican wrestlers of all time, El Azul. And Kenny's wrestling name is El Pollo Loco, which translates to the Crazy Chicken. Of course, that is also the name of a fast food chain here in America. Vince McMahon went to see the Boys SmackDown event. Coincidentally, Vince was once a owner of the same brand, SmackDown. And finally, the scene with the boys tryouts to find a new wrestler is similar to the musical A Chorus Line, especially with number 37's monologue and song about his past. So that is your references to pop culture and your trivia. And as I notice here about Kenny's death, since getting launched into the air by a rocket-propelled grenade fired by Mr. Conners, who was trying to kill Mr. McMahon, he explodes in midair, and with it, Kenny's death in this episode marks his first death since the episode The Ring, of the one that's Baby, which of course the Ring is from the first episode of season 13. So 12 episodes. It had been a while since we had seen Kenny's death. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your full recap, pop culture. As I mentioned at the top of the episode, this recap, this is one of my favorite episodes, partially due in fact that I grew up such a wrestling fan. As a kid growing up, one of my closest and oldest friends to this day, we grew up watching wrestling, and all of his brothers did too. So it was really a good experience every, Monday night when we watched Monday Night Raw at the time, because Friday night we went out or we did things. But, Monday night, after you come back from school, you do your homework, go over to my buddy's house and we'd all sit there, or we go over to his neighbor's house and we'd all sit there and we watch Monday Night Raw. So wrestling was a huge part of my adolescence, making friends. Even to this day, I made a lot of wrestling friends and they become good friends because of it. I think wrestling in its weird, wacky way has the power to bring people together because it hits on all elements of pop culture, religion, stereotypes, races. It has that ability to do so, and if done so in a proper manner, can elicit emotions, whether that be positive or negative. I always, kind of viewed wrestling as well as kind of like live action theater. Growing up a thespian and actor myself, I never wanted to be the wrestler. That's never been in my DNA to want to go take bumps and be a wrestler. But I always loved the pageantry of it, the over-the-top nature of the action, blowing up your attitude as a performer itself and bringing it to the forefront. But definitely professional wrestling I always viewed as kind of like the last version of live action theater, right? Because if you think back to the Romans and, even Shakespeare, they would have these giant, full-on productions of their plays and whatnot, and they'd have huge battles and scenes and stuff like that to elicit to an audience that. And then, of course, you have the gladiator stuff. So, I mean, the concept itself of men, women too, if you will, putting themselves through a physical confrontation, whether it be real or fake in any sense, for entertainment purposes, has been the lifeblood of us as a human society dating back thousands of years. So I always viewed professional wrestling, like I said, as that last form of live action theater and art. And as I mentioned, top 10 episode for me. I really enjoy WTF. I found all of the different characters that Cartman played very funny. I liked how, for the most part, throughout the whole episode, our main 4 boys were on a united front and didn't really break down until the end when Mr. McMahon decided that Mr. Conners was the right guy for him. That was a funny part of the episode too. I always remembered that thinking when I first watched it because, as a wrestling fan, sometimes you worry, or at least you did. I don't know what it is, as an adult, I don't care. But as a child or a teenager, you cared. If people walked in the room, you're watching wrestling and something weird was on, or just a weird scene or a weird statement, and they're like, what the hell are you watching? So I think they perfectly executed that by having the professional, the amateur wrestling teacher showing the video of that, and the kids reacting like this is gay porn, because that type of a reaction is the same type of energy people would give when you'd see, Mae Young giving birth to a hand, for instance, or whatnot, or you see Mae Young, just, topless itself, or Triple H and the DX making love to a dead body of Katie Vick. Just so many over-the-top things from the early 90s and even up until today that if somebody walked in and they didn't watch professional wrestling, they're like, what the heck are you watching, dude? What is this? Are you watching gay porn? Mister, you need to take your gay porn and you need to get out. So I think they perfectly encapsulated that reaction at the time too. And then, all in all, just a great episode. I thought it was really funny. I would have liked maybe have seen a little bit more Butters in here. I know he's been getting some more play, and we just had a Butters bottom bitch, but I would have liked to see maybe more of his character too. He was funny at the beginning. No, hey, wait, no, it's not ready to start the fight, and his bad acting. So I just thought that was great. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That's going to do it for another edition of SMB, a South Park review. Like I said, check us out, Linktr.ee/SouthParkPod. Hit that like and subscribe button. Share it with your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, your uncle. Who knows? Share it with anybody. I'd appreciate that as we continue to climb the subscriber rates to get monetization here on YouTube. Man, I always have such a fun time talking South Park, reviewing South Park. South Park's one of the greatest shows of all time. Well, I think that's going to do it for me here, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to do it for, another edition of SMB, a South Park review. We'll be back next week for Whale Wars. What happens when Stan just gets fed up with the Japanese people killing whales and dolphins? As well, we also are going to see the debut parody of Cartman's song, Poker Face. Carry my, yeah, you carry that my poker face. She's got me on your body. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Matt Shaver. We'll be back. Hopefully, all of us, or just me, who knows? But SMB itself will be back next week for another edition of a South Park review. Check us out. Peace.